Attention fans, is Ferrari really ready to fight for pole position at the Australian Grand Prix? After seeing Charles Leclerc's performance in free practice, expectations are sky high. But will it be enough to beat McLaren and Red Bull? Stay until the end because we're going to analyze everything: the pace of the SF25, Lewis Hamilton's adaptation, and the key factors that could decide the standings. Tell me in the comments, will Ferrari take pole position in Australia? The Australian Grand Prix marks the start of the 2025 Formula One season, and Ferrari has arrived in Melbourne with a car that has generated a lot of expectations. The Scuderia had a positive first day of training, with Charles Leclerc leading the second free practice session, setting a time of 1 minute 16.439 seconds. However, the gap to their main rivals was minimal, with the McLarens of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris finishing less than 0.2 of a second behind. This leaves us with a key question. Does Ferrari have the real pace to fight for pole, or do these results only reflect performance in short-run simulations? Analyzing the sector times, Ferrari showed strengths in the high-speed corners of the second sector, where the SF25 appears to have good aerodynamic stability. However, the data also shows that McLaren was faster on the straights and in low-speed corners, which could play a key role in qualifying. The challenge for Ferrari will be finding an optimal setup balance to extract maximum performance from the car without compromising tire degradation on longer laps. On the other hand, Lewis Hamilton finished the second practice session in 5th place. Despite not being in the fight for the best times, his long-run pace was more consistent than his teammates. Hamilton is still adapting to the SF25 after more than a decade with Mercedes, and his main challenge has been understanding the behavior of the front end, especially on the entry to tight corners. The Ferrari's new suspension is radically different from what he's driven in the past, and while his experience will play to his advantage, it's still uncertain whether he'll be able to exploit the car's full potential in his first qualifying session with the Scuderia. Historically, Albert Park has been a favorable circuit for Ferrari. In 2024, the team achieved an impressive 1-2 finish with Carlos Sainz taking the win, followed by Charles Leclerc. But the context has changed significantly. McLaren has made a huge leap in quality in recent seasons, and Red Bull remains a latent threat. The key for Ferrari in this qualifying session will be managing aerodynamic balance and stability in fast corners. If they can maintain the performance shown in free practice 2, they have a real chance of fighting for the front row of the grid. Another determining factor will be tire management. During testing in Bahrain, Ferrari experienced issues with soft compound wear in race simulations. However, in Melbourne, the temperatures and asphalt abrasion are different, which could play in its favor. Preliminary data indicates that the SF25 has better balance in hot track conditions, which could help the drivers extract more performance in the key laps of Q3. In short, early indications show that Ferrari is in the mix, but the gap to McLaren and Red Bull is minimal. Qualifying at Albert Park will be crucial to determine the true level of the SF25 in its first real test of the season. Can Leclerc and Hamilton surprise and take pole position, or will they have to settle for a second row? The battle is on, and every small detail can make the difference. The 2025 season has brought significant changes to Ferrari's design philosophy. The SF25 represents a key evolution over its predecessor, with modifications to critical areas aimed at addressing the balance and performance issues that plagued the team in 2024. One of the most significant changes is the adoption of a new pull rod front suspension, a design historically used by Red Bull and now implemented by Ferrari to improve stability under braking and response in low and medium speed corners. Initial testing in Bahrain indicated that this new suspension has unlocked several avenues for aerodynamic development, allowing for more efficient interaction between the front wing and downdraft airflow. However, the adaptation process has been challenging, especially in terms of the car's overall balance. During simulations and initial practice in Melbourne, it was observed that the SF25 tends to exhibit slight understeer in medium radius corners, forcing engineers to make adjustments to the mechanical and aerodynamic setup to find an optimal fit. In addition to the suspension, Ferrari has introduced a new, more compact side pod concept, optimizing aerodynamic efficiency and reducing drag. This design allows airflow to be better channeled toward the rear of the car, improving stability in fast corners and providing greater downforce without sacrificing speed on the straights. During the first sessions in Melbourne, telemetry data showed that this change was effective, allowing Leclerc and Hamilton to maintain higher speeds through the highly demanding corners of the Albert Park circuit. Another key aspect of the SF25's evolution is the redesign of the rear wing. Ferrari has worked to improve the efficiency of the drag reduction system, DRS, to optimize top speed in qualifying and maximize overtaking opportunities in the race. Initial simulations have revealed that activating DRS on the Albert Park straights provides a significant improvement in top speed, approaching the values recorded by McLaren and Red Bull. This improvement is crucial considering that straight-line speed was one of Ferrari's weaknesses last season. The technical team has worked intensively to correlate data between the simulator and the track. According to Loic Serra, chassis technical director, the values obtained in simulations have been quite accurate compared to the data collected in Bahrain and Australia. This consistency is crucial for engineers to make quick and effective adjustments throughout the weekend, optimizing the car's performance in each session. Despite these advances, Ferrari still faces significant challenges. The new suspension has improved corner entry and braking stability, but it has also generated different behavior in the mid-corner. During free practice 2 in Melbourne, it was observed that Leclerc had to slightly adjust the steering in the mid-corner phase, indicating that the car is still not completely balanced in all traction scenarios. Tire performance is also a key factor in the evolution of the SF25. In Bahrain, the team experienced difficulties maintaining uniform wear on the softer compounds, especially in conditions of high heat and downforce. In Melbourne, the asphalt temperature and abrasion are different, allowing Ferrari to gather more representative data to fine-tune the car's setup. While early measurements show an improvement in wear management, there are still questions about how the SF25 will perform in qualifying on new tires and in extremely demanding conditions. Ferrari has taken a step forward with this new setup, but the key to qualifying will be finding the perfect balance between aerodynamics and mechanics. If the team can optimize response in medium-speed corners and minimize understeer during acceleration, it could be in a position to fight for pole in Melbourne. The potential is there, but the gap between Ferrari, McLaren, and Red Bull is minimal, meaning that any small adjustment could make the difference in the battle for the front row of the grid. The fight for pole position at the 2025 Australian Grand Prix is shaping up to be one of the closest in recent years. Ferrari has shown encouraging signs in free practice, but the competition with McLaren and Red Bull will be fierce. The gaps between the leading teams are minimal, and any technical or strategic detail can be decisive in determining the starting order on Sunday's grid. McLaren has emerged as the team to beat at this season's start. After winning the Constructors' title in 2024, the British team has maintained its aggressive development approach and has further refined its car. Both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have demonstrated solid pace in practice sessions, with a particularly strong performance in the third sector of the Albert Park circuit, where traction and stability in low-speed corners play a key role. In the second free practice session, Norris and Piastri were just 1/10 of a second behind Leclerc, suggesting that McLaren's potential in qualifying conditions is very strong. Red Bull, while still a dangerous contender, hasn't displayed the absolute dominance it has had in previous years. Max Verstappen has been consistent at the top of the timesheets, but early impressions suggest the team has lost some of its edge in terms of the car's overall balance. The departure of Adrian Newey and changes to the team's technical structure have created uncertainty about the evolution of the RB21, which has struggled at times to find an ideal setup on circuits with elevation changes and medium radius corners. Liam Lawson, in his first full season as a regular driver, has performed well, but his lack of experience in high-pressure qualifying sessions could put him at a disadvantage against more experienced competitors. As for Ferrari, qualifying will be the first real test of its ability to fight for wins in 2025. Charles Leclerc has been one of the fastest drivers in practice, and his aggressive driving style could be an advantage at a circuit like Albert Park, where maximizing speed in fast corners can make all the difference. However, the inconsistency in the stability of the SF25's front end remains a concern, especially in medium-speed corners where the car has exhibited a degree of understeer. Lewis Hamilton, making his qualifying debut with Ferrari, represents a significant unknown. His track record in Melbourne is impressive, with multiple pole positions and wins at the circuit, but adapting to a car completely different from the one he drove for over a decade at Mercedes could work against him. In practice, Hamilton has shown competitive pace on long runs, but his performance on fast laps remains to be seen. The key for the 7-time world champion will be finding enough confidence in the SF25 to unleash its potential in Q3 without compromising the car's balance. Beyond the top 3 teams, Mercedes could play an unexpected role in qualifying. George Russell has shown flashes of speed in practice, and youngster Andrea Kimi Antonelli, making his first official Formula One appearance, has impressed with his ability to quickly adapt to the car. Although Mercedes doesn't appear to be in a position to fight for pole on equal terms with Ferrari, McLaren, and Red Bull, They could capitalize on any mistakes by their rivals to sneak into the front rows of the grid. Analysis of the long practice runs suggests that the gap between the leading teams is narrower than expected. Tire management will be a key factor in qualifying, especially given the temperature fluctuations seen throughout the weekend. The choice of tire compounds for Q3 will be decisive, and any mistake in tire preparation could cost them important positions on the starting grid. If Ferrari can optimize the balance of their car and minimize difficulties on corner entry, they could be in a position to fight for pole position. However, McLaren has demonstrated remarkable consistency across all sectors of the circuit, making them the favorites to secure the front row. Red Bull remains a latent threat, but they will need a perfect setup to challenge McLaren and Ferrari on equal terms. Qualifying in Melbourne promises to be a pinpoint duel between these teams, where every tenth of a second will be crucial. The margin for error is minimal, and any inaccuracy on the decisive lap could mean the difference between starting on the front row or being relegated to the second or third row of the grid. Qualifying for the 2025 Australian Grand Prix will be Ferrari's first major test of the year and a crucial opportunity to gauge its true potential against McLaren and Red Bull. The results in practice have been encouraging, but many unknowns remain before the final battle for pole position. Charles Leclerc has demonstrated the speed to fight at the front of the grid. His best time in the second free practice session suggests that the SF25 has the potential to be competitive on a fast lap, especially in the high-speed sectors where the car has shown great aerodynamic stability. However, qualifying will be a completely different scenario, where tire management and the ability to execute a perfect lap without errors will be decisive. Lewis Hamilton, making his qualifying debut for Ferrari, will face a particular challenge. His experience and talent are undeniable, but adapting to a car with a completely different design philosophy than the one he drove for over a decade at Mercedes could play a key role in his performance. The key for him will be to find the necessary confidence in the SF25 and adjust his driving style to extract the car's full potential in the decisive moments. Strategy will also be crucial in this qualifying session. The evolution of the track throughout Q1, Q2, and Q3 will determine which team best optimizes its times, and any mistake in choosing the right moment to go out on track could make a significant difference to the final result. Furthermore, the possibility of traffic on the fast laps and the management of the soft tires in the most demanding conditions will be factors that each team will have to manage precisely. McLaren arrives with a slight advantage thanks to its consistency in all sectors of the circuit and its efficiency at top speed, while Red Bull remains a latent threat, especially with Max Verstappen, who can never be ruled out in moments of high pressure. Ferrari, meanwhile, has shown signs of improvement compared to previous seasons, but will need to run a mistake-free qualifying session if it wants to secure a position on the front row of the grid. The qualifying session at Albert Park will not only define the starting order for the race, but will also provide the first real clue about the competitive landscape for the 2025 season. Can Ferrari capitalize on its strong practice performance and turn it into a pole position, or will McLaren and Red Bull set the pace in the first major battle of the year? The outcome of this session could be a key indicator of the championship fight. If Ferrari puts in a solid performance, it will send a clear message that they are ready to challenge McLaren and Red Bull throughout the season. Conversely, if issues arise with balance, tire management, or setup, it could be a sign that there is still work to be done to establish themselves as title contenders. Expectations are high, and the answer will come on track. Qualifying in Melbourne promises to be an intense session where every detail will count, and the first answers about each team's true potential in 2025 will be revealed.